Hello everyone. Welcome to the first RIPEstat public demo. My name is Erik Romein. I'm a senior software engineer at RIPEstat, and today we'll be showing you the first iteration of RIPEstat. We'll start with some administrative items. Daniel will do an introduction to RIPEstat and these demos. We'll be running a live demo. There will be some time for questions and feedback, and then we will close. So first, a few practical items. Please mute your microphone if you are not talking, because it helps us prevent background noises. If possible for you, please use a headset and an external microphone if you intend to talk to us. If you have a recent Apple Mac, iPhone headsets will work very well. Please do not send video unless we ask you to, because the bandwidth requirements could be too much for our participants with limited bandwidth. If you would like to ask questions during the demo, please wait until you are called. You can use the audio for this, but in addition, you can also use the chat feature if your audio is not working well or you don't have a good microphone. We'll be monitoring the To Everyone chat channel and ask the questions at the appropriate time. Please do be considerate in chatting to everyone and use a separate channel for side conversations. If you have any questions or if you want to discuss something, please do that at the end of the demo. Let us know that you want to ask a question. You can use the raise your hand feature in WebEx, and you will be called. Please don't forget to state your name and the name of the person or the subject your question relates to, and please try to be a bit concise. If you have detailed statements and questions, please save them for the mailing list. So then we move on to the second item, which is Daniel with his introduction of RIPEstat.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I'll give you a little bit of background on what we want to do with RIPEstat and what we want to do with these demos, but I try to be very short. RIPEstat is an idea to actually bring all the information services that we have at the RIPE-NCC together under one interface, if you wish. Because we believe, RIPE-NCC, regional registry, numbers are us. So our main features, and if calling users we could mute, that would be really helpful. Thank you so much. We are really in the numbers business, IPv4, IPv6 addresses, or ASNs. We are trying to build a modular and extendable toolbox of things that help you to address, to access all we know about those numbers. And modular and extendable is the key word here. We start with something small, and then we're going to extend it in the ways that are useful to you, the community, and that we actually see being used. Further, in sort of RIPEstat, the moniker should have sort of two connotations, at least two we are intending. One is statistics, and that's sort of long-term, looking back in time kind of things that we have in many of our services right now. But also status, where we really want to go more real-time than we have been so far with our tools. We want to give you, if we can, up to the minute status information about operational data in the internet. We also want to produce immutable and shareable URLs for each result. So if once you have developed a view on this data by zooming in, choosing aggregations, choosing a time frame, and you see something, then we would provide you with a immutable URL that actually represents this view. So you can share it with other people, on mailing lists or whatever other media social media, whatever you choose, and the other users will be able to access that URL and see exactly what you saw and start working from that. We're definitely also looking at multiple output formats. You'll see that. So we'll not only give you an HTTP format thing that you can watch in your browser, but we'll also have a text format output, which might be a command line tool, incidentally named RIPEstat then, analogous to netstat, if you wish. But we would also have PDF and definitely XML-like things, so JSON possibly we'll have to see, that you could then use to further process the outputs of what we provide. The long-term plan is, that this is successful and is actually going to be used very much. And once we see that it's used and the content that we currently have in other services available, we will actually integrate those services and stop these services at some point. And if thank you. So that's the idea. Next, please. So here's the conceptual, artist's impression mockup that we used when we developed this. The center of it is a Google-like query window where you can put in an internet number or a prefix or an autonomous system number, and then we'll have these boxes underneath that will present various aspects of our knowledge about these numbers. Can come from our WHOIS database, can come from RIS, it can come from any of the other data sets that we have. The idea here is that this is modular. You can delete some of it that's not interesting. You can expand some other things that are interesting. You can zoom in to get more detail. You can change the aggregation level to include more or less addresses, for instance, things like that. So that's the general idea. And as we add different databases, data sets, we'll add more of these boxes. And if we have different ways of viewing them, we can also have more of these boxes added to the interface. Next, please. Here's one concept of sort of drilling down in terms of aggregation and zoom level. It's just to show the different dimensions. For instance, if we type in 193.0.2.1, we can have a look here at routing information and see is this prefix visible? Well, obviously the /32 usually isn't. The /21 is somewhat visible. The /16 is in this example is very well visible, and the /8, not a realistic example, I admit, is very well visible. And then you can see that there's sort of a zoom function as well to get more detail. So when the /16 is selected and you see underneath a zoom to the continental level, and you can see sort of in which continent this particular prefix is seen, well or not at all or reasonably well. And you can then extend that by basically thinking, let's drill down further, zoom in further on a single continent, and we could show you which route collectors see this prefix, things like that. Just as an example of what the general concept is. Yes, thank you. That was good. Next, please. And this is another sort of mock-up that shows another way of presenting it, so drilling down by sort of a tree list on the left-hand side. It's just a possibility. It's nothing, that we'll have to see what works and what doesn't. What this also shows is the things that are to the left and right of the sort of core interface, and you'll see some of this in the demo in a short while. We on the left-hand side intend to show you, for instance, feedback of what other users are doing. So there's this top queries box that will show you what the top queries are at the current time. So that can also give some indication about what's interesting if there's many users, and sort of a crowdsourcing idea. We also have a comment feature there, notionally, which we will see in a while, and that could also be on more specific things, on specific views, specific ASs, specific prefixes and things like that. And on the right-hand side, we have something that we want to develop later on, which is a news feed about incidents or developments in the internet that actually can be shown by data in this interface. So we will actually develop some content. If we see things are happening, if we see trends and things like that, we will look at it. We will produce views on it, and put that into some news feeds where you can actually see what our view of the world is, both on the short-term operational and on the long-term statistical way. And we hope that we can very quickly also engage you, the community, in providing input for this, so that when you go to this page, you not only can look at stuff that interests you in particular, but you will also have the possibility to see what's happening in general. Next, please. So coming back to the demos, we want to develop this not in as we have previously done, fully featured and then show it to you, but we want to develop it in an agile way, show you some early developments, and then adapt to feedback and to usage patterns. So we will demo new functionality every 4 weeks on the clock, 11:30 or 10:30 UTC on a Tuesday, and we hope that we will receive lots of comments and feedback. We also monitor the usage, so how are these, is RIPEstat better being used, and we will draw our conclusions from that and take that as feedback. Important to know is that you can actually look at the usage too, and Eric will show it to you in a minute. And based on usage and feedback, we will adjust, and hopefully over 4 weeks' time, you will see that we have actually adapted. And of course, you get the tools you deserve, so you get involved. If we don't hear from you, obviously we'll do what we think is best, and that's not necessarily what you might think is best. And above all, do not consider the demos that we show you here as a finished product. It's a work in progress, and it will get better over time, but it's not something that we have polished and so that it's really, really shiny. Quite to the contrary, we want to do this iteratively in an agile way. So that's all from me. Back to you, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Now we go on to the live demo. So this is RIPEstat. It's running public now, and as Daniel said, this is very much a work in progress. You can see the big beta label being on there. And our goal here is to demonstrate the concept of RIPEstat and indeed not a completely finished product. What we aim for here is to show the potential and gather your feedback so that you can guide us further into what we want it to be. We will be having this under active development, and new features are actually pushed out as soon as they are ready, so we don't wait for big milestones every month or every few months. As soon as it's ready, it'll be pushed out, and at some point you'll see it appear. And basically what we focused on is to have a very clean and simple interface. You can see the huge query box, which we use to run queries, and it's meant not to be confusing. And the first thing you can see is that it actually already found out what my address is, which prefix I'm in, and from which AS that is announced. So if I just click on that, currently the performance is still a bit of an issue. We do see that as an important point and intend to put effort into improving that quickly. And what we can see is that there's a variety of data sources here represented in these separate boxes. And they are currently arranged in whatever we found logical, but we aim to make them flexible so that you can get rid of boxes, you can move boxes around so that it looks like you would like it to be. Also, what we're looking at is to have permanent links for each box so that you can share just that data with somebody, as Daniel mentioned in the slides. And to also have a button somewhere to have the raw data of the box available for download in XML, JSON, PDF, or some format that is convenient. Now, the concept here isn't final. It's basically our attempt in the direction of presenting our large variety of data sets, and the actual contents of the boxes are still early. They are meant to show the potential of what you could actually do with this. So looking at this specific page, we can see that it shows us a list of prefixes announced from this AS. This is extracted from BGP data, and also the distribution in size of these prefixes. So we can see that the right NCC, this is the right NCC's AS number, that we mostly announce as 23s. A potential further development for this graph could be basically that, for instance, we could add the aggregation information, so how much deaggregated are the prefixes that this AS is announcing. That's something that could happen. Another thing we included here is the whois data. Now, the thing we found difficult there is that whois data is a very verbose. You probably don't want to see the entire routing policy. Currently, it's a simple truncation where it cuts out after a number of lines, but I think we think there's potential there for more development. So, clicking on one of these prefixes. We can see the page for a prefix, and it's different because for prefixes we find different data, but it represents the same concept again. And those of you who are familiar with our other services, you might recognize some components of the RIPEstat dashboards, which we developed a few years ago. The thing that's important to stress is that this is not intended as a re-implementation of the dashboards. This is something that will share some elements, but it has a lot more potential for further development to go way beyond what the dashboards did and could do. Looking at some specific things here, there's the stability of the prefix. So you can see that the right NC's prefix actually had a lot of stability at this exact point, and after that it was pretty much quiet. This particular thing was caused due to plant maintenance, which didn't affect the surface, but did affect BGP stability. The whois info is basically the same as for the AS number. So some elements are actually shared because they apply to both types of input. And a new thing here also is the geolocation. So this is a geolocation lookup of the prefix that we're looking at. And the nice thing about this is that it's actually a third-party data set. The right NC does not maintain, we don't build this data set. And what we have been working on for a long time is to build a large database with our data sets and other people's data sets, which are related to internet resources. So this is one of the data sets that we actually have now locally mirrored, and we also have all the history, so we can extend this to actually show where was this prefix according to this data set historically. And actually all three boxes that you see here take their data from three completely different data sets. So the top one takes its data from the routing information service, this one from the RIPE database, and the geolocation from another set. And basically we can extend this much further, so there could be many more boxes, some taking data from the same data set, some taking data from all different data sets. So our aim is to have this modular architecture, allowing us to combine all the data sets into one. So going back to the main page, Daniel already mentioned the top queries. We have it right here, it's the popular queries, and it indeed tells us what has been most frequently queried. So apparently this prefix is the most frequently queried at this time. So if something very interesting happens, you may see those resources pop up high on the list. It also tracks the latest queries per user. You don't have to log in for this. It attaches it to your browser session. And so you can easily go back to queries that you run frequently. Now, because we very much like this interactive ongoing development and quick feedback, we've added a commenting feature. And all comments currently are site-wide. There's a comment form here, but there's also one on each page, each results page. And when you make a comment actually on a result page, we currently do store what you are actually looking at. So you can also use it as a quick way to give feedback to us about something, and we'll actually instantly know what result this is about. These are currently not yet displayed. That is a possibility. All comments are currently also public, and we'll have to see how this ends up being used and how we develop this further. I will also be coming back to the item of feedback later. Now, it's very important for us to be transparent with this, which is why also the access statistics are completely public. These are slightly different. These are anonymized, so there's no reference here to IP address or anything else that can be traced to an individual user. But it does allow you to actually see how is the service being used, what do people query for, and to basically be open about, we've built this thing, and how is it now in real life being used. So this is available to everybody, updated daily. Internally, of course, we have the full stats. So that concludes the live demo. And so there's an open microphone now for questions and feedback. You can play with it on stat.ripe.net. For feedback in increasing order of preference, you can contact us privately on RIPEstat@ripe.net. There are comments on the website, and they are all public at this moment. And as I said, if you make a comment on a result, we'll actually know which result that was. There will be an article on the RIPE Labs about this demo, which also provides opportunity to feedback. Our preferred method of comment and feedback is the Measurement Analysis and Tools Working Group, which has a mailing list, which is the preferred forum for discussion. Okay, so on to the questions. I have two. There's a question of whether we have plans to integrate this with Atlas. Not specifically, but yes, it's a very reasonable thing that we'll probably end up doing. We'll have to see what this is the best, what is the best angle to take on this.
Can I add something here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my personal plan definitely is to integrate this with Atlas. I see lots of convergence here, and one of my dreams is that we can get to a point where you actually look at something in RIPEstat, and you basically say, hey, I'd like to watch this a little bit more closely, or I'd like to get, for instance, reachability data to this prefix or whatever. And that you could then, in the same interface, actually schedule some Atlas measurements, if you have the right credits and all that kind of stuff. That's my real long-term goal, and obviously I don't want to frighten the people that actually have to do this, because it's going to be quite hard work, but I hope that within a year or so we could get there, where actually all this is integrated, and how exactly it will look is something that we'll have to discuss. But definitely in the back of my mind there is a serious integration of Atlas stuff, and definitely being able to watch the Atlas results and being able to schedule Atlas measurements is something that I would like to see added to this.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Then there was in the question, in the chat, the question of whether we are planning to make an API public, especially for risk data. It depends on whether there's sufficient demand, and also what you're actually looking for from such an API. So it would be good to know more on what angle we would need to take from this. As Daniel mentioned, there will actually we do intend to have multiple output formats. So a command line is definitely in the picture there, which could solve some of the depending on what exactly you're looking for. But multiple output formats are definitely planned. Does that answer your question? Okay, do we have any other questions?
I have one more comment, and that's definitely to encourage everyone to please play with this. It's up there on stats.ripe.net. You can access it now. Please excuse the performance level at this point. The idea is that this will be a very fast performance in terms of showing results almost immediately. But we're working on that. That will be one of the foci we'll have in the next 4 weeks for the next demo, is to actually put enough iron behind this to make it work really, really fast. But just imagine it would be working fast, and let us know what you would like to see in terms of different features and so on, and which ones you like and which ones you don't like. Please play with it by all means.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. If then there are no more questions, then I would like to close the session. And our next demo will be in exactly 4 weeks on Tuesday, the 22nd of February, at the same time. We will be publishing a summary article with a recording of the session, the slides, and all the links on RIPE Labs, which you can access on labs.ripe.net. And then I would like to thank you for attending, and I hope to see you next time.